Well, welcome to our first informal town hall meeting for our Harnett United group. Just to give you a little background, Harnett United came about with from a spinoff from the 401 asphalt plant Facebook group. And once we started peeling the onion skins away, if you will, we realized there were other issues in our county, and we want to be able to highlight the good and the bad and work together to make things better for our county. So welcome to our first town hall, and we have our first volunteer, and we welcome Commissioner Matt Nicol, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I am Commissioner Matt Nicol. I am the District 5 County. I got to hold it all the way up here, don't I? Okay. I'm the District 5 County Commissioner here in Harnett County. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. I was told everybody was going to be nice, and it's going to be nice and informal, and it'll be instructional yet informal, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Harnett United, actually, I wanted to commend you. I actually love that name. I do. That's probably the biggest thing that not only the county or the state or the country, let alone the world, is unity. So great name choice.
Thank you. Yeah. It was a collaborative effort and choice.
Pass this back and forth.
All right. So what was the reasons? What were the reasons that made you run for commissioners? What were your main priorities? And we just want to get to know you better.
Okay. Simple enough. Well, my main reasons for running is I started off on the planning committee on the school board, and I actually saw a breakdown in communication that was going on between the school board and the board at the time. After getting certain things done and certain pushback and feeling the frustrations, and a culmination of other things, the 2A protection was going through with the county a few years ago. Myself and another group helped spearhead that operation. So, like I said, I've been up there at the podium before speaking and talking and knowing what it's like to want some feedback or want some answers, and kind of feel like things are falling on deaf ears. And I will go ahead and speak for the rest of the board on this occasion. However, I don't believe everybody is invested on the Board of Commissioners, and they all hear what's going on, and they all are doing the best that they can, and it's not falling on deaf ears. And sometimes things could be explained a little bit better, understanding like how we came to a conclusion, and that it's like, okay, how did y'all get to that? And like y'all kind of want to know the why.
Yeah, it's not transparent to us. It's hard.
Exactly. So yeah. I've been there. I've been on that side of it, so I understand. I have 5 kids, and I have a small business, and Harnett County is my final stand. There isn't anywhere for me to run to on this earth. People still come here to America in order to enjoy the freedoms and the liberties that we have. I've been all across the world, been across the country. I've moved away from here, moved back, moved away, moved back, and I always come back to here. And Harnett County is my home, and it's my final stand, so there's nowhere for me to run to. And instead of being a complainer and someone who would just gripe about something going on and wanting to see changes, or I could have easily picked up my family, and that was an opportunity at the time, or an option actually, pick up my family and move, to somewhere else that has it, quote unquote, figured out already.
You're a veteran. Were you born in North Carolina?
I was not. I was born in Pennsylvania. I moved down here when I was 6, 7 years old. Was raised in Wake County. So went to Leesville Elementary, middle, and high. So I consider myself from North Carolina, over 30 years here. So, but this was my home, and I wasn't gonna just let it roll over. And I saw a few other people that were running at the time and didn't agree with them and their policies and their platforms, or even just them personally running. And I didn't want to make an excuse, so I decided to run.
Well, good for you. And I think a few of us are in the same mind frame, but I'm not going to say who. They'll eventually show themselves. So, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. My
no,
bad.
it's fine. I just realized, no, you asked about like kind of my platform and,
yes.
and the
Go ahead, and I know that one's
ran.
very important for you.
Well, it is. Veterans in the county are a big thing. If we, had the purpose to serve others at one point in time, we always had the purpose to serve, and definitely think that's something that we should give back to. The opioid crisis is probably
Huge.
one of the biggest things on my platform.
It's bigger than COVID.
And it's I realize it's a lot bigger than me, and that's where everyone together, because it's in our schools, and it's probably, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to run for commissioner. Also, I started hearing horror stories of kind of things that were happening in the schools, and I was like, I've got kids that go to that school, and they're coming up through there, and hey, now it's affecting me. And there's a lot of things that parents don't really understand that are going on in the schools. Drugs are a big one. Schools are an incubator for our future, and that is the first place that is poisoning our youth. So that needs to be the main focus. But opioids, it's degradation to our society. That's one of the biggest things. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room is close to someone who's struggled with it personally. And it's a disease, but it is something that there are ways to help out. People who've been in that foxhole, just, same thing with any other issue, mental illness. If you've been there before, you know the way out, and it's our responsibility to help out those people.
And I do know that opiate deaths have surpassed COVID deaths. So it is a big concern. Well,
it's always been a big concern.
Yeah.
I really think the biggest issue is, and it's everywhere. Okay, it's not just here. It's not just our city. It's everywhere. The issue is nobody's actually stepping up and saying, hey, I have a problem. Like, we have a problem. Okay, and we need help. We need to go ahead and get some help here. Harnett County may not have the most schools, right? But I sure want them to be the cleanest and the best.
Will some of that opioid the lawsuits, some of those monies be able to come to the county to help?
That lawsuit that just got filed and won through Johnson, it was a settlement. The county will be receiving a portion of that money as well, and we're going to be using that for mental health and substance abuse.
Excellent.
So, yep. And I had a couple other things on my platform. Biggest ones were economic development, which the county is, I say, currently spearheading and doing a very good job of.
We'll want you to elaborate with that.
We have a lot more growth to tackle. However, we're on the right path. We have a plan finally and a program, and we're actually working towards goals. And that's the biggest thing, and that I'm most proud of with the county. But economic development is huge. Okay, instead, we are just humans on a tax farm. Okay, we're down here, and the county operates off of property taxes, and obviously, it's not enough to build new schools and to pay for all the resources and everything that we need. So that's definitely a big, for everything that we want, all the needs. That's how we pay for it instead of bleeding out our citizens. So.
All right. So here comes the hard questions.
What?
Yes. Here comes the hard questions. So, you know that our group started as a spinoff from the asphalt group. And because an asphalt plant was being built in our backyard, the property, those 70 acres that has a lot of wetlands included with the Neels Creek going through it, was zoned industrial 32 years ago, which many of us weren't aware of that. It wasn't on our radar. But with all this overdevelopment and all of a sudden, just by chance neighbor sees what's going on and did a little research and found out. So where do you stand on having an asphalt plant so close to the hospital, and now it's going to be the backyard of a development there on Matthews Road?
Damn, now that, pardon my language, yes, I guess that is a hard question that you hit me with. I'm not going to go ahead and get into exactly an argument per se on,
no, we don't need to argue.
On how that came to fruition. You know, yes, it was zoned 32 years ago. Okay. Despite of what issues or arguments are in between, the property was zoned industrial. It had not been realized, or at least, you know, wasn't realized to us or anybody else that, hey, this is industrial. And at the time, the land being purchased, those owners were free to do whatever they wanted to do. Okay. So it really wasn't my opinion. There wasn't anything the county could have done at that point in time, except get a lawsuit by telling them that, no, you are not allowed to do what you want to do on your property, which is actually zoned for. Now that you guys did form that group and, you know, it's brought up to attention, we are reevaluating and looking at many different areas now. I mean, that was 32 years ago zoned. Now we get to take a look at the map and sit here and start doing more planning. My economic development director that we just hired in the county, phenomenal. That is one of the biggest things that he's doing right now also. So people are in motion now because of y'all's voice. So
thank you.
However, we can't go back, shove the turd back in our butt from what happened. Okay. The asphalt plant, it came, they were legally able to do so, and would have cost the county millions of dollars if we would have, you know, fought against it. So by the time it actually came across to us, it was way too late.
So I just want to add to this. Clean Air NC, their environmental justice director, partnered with us and actually sponsored a number of air quality monitors. I also heard from a lady, actually, Commissioner McCoy actually lives in that neighborhood, downtown Lillington. There's a it's permit exempt concrete plant or processing plant that's created a lot of issues. So we have a monitor right behind that concrete plant, and we're also have 4 other ones in the area. We have 1 more to install. So we're going to keep a very close eye on it. We have 2 asphalt plants 1.2 miles apart. Then there is one that is not current operating, but their permit is current. They are choosing, they didn't operate last year, they're choosing to keep their permit, and that is close to fund level, I think. Anyway, they're all in a 3.5 mile radius with the town of Lillington smack in the middle. And the problem with 2 asphalt plants, Johnson Brothers and Highland Paving, being so close, you have the people in the middle sandwiched between them, including a hospital, a nursing home, and residences. And now you're going to have homes right in the backyard of the asphalt plant. Once D.A. Horton, they just got approved for R20 homes, which are, R10, which are half-acre lots. So that's going to be a problem. And just so everybody knows, we've had people contact us. They find us via Google search, and they ask questions. And we've had at least 3 cancel contracts to buy because of our work. So I hope people do their due diligence when buying properties behind the asphalt plant, because that is not good for kids. And our air quality monitors, we will be getting monthly reports on the air quality around the area. All right, so that being said, I guess I'll go to the next topic. Why did you vote no on the not to fund nonprofits?
Oh, Billy, here's a good one. What? I mean, the most period point blank way to say this is there was a lot going on, once again, that y'all didn't see, of nonprofits that had asked for money that weren't nonprofits on there. Some of them had been receiving funds from the county for many years, not being 501c3, which is a requirement. So
you guys didn't do a yearly?
So no, what we have is called a nonprofit committee that takes in all these applications and they review those applications, okay? And then they come to the board with a request. Well, the board had denied their initial request, told them, hey, listen here, told them some issues that were going on with it, saying, listen, we're not going to be, funding this, especially after year after year after year. The funding for nonprofits has increased, and it's been a contentious issue, and it wasn't something that we were willing to increase our first year in. Did not want to increase it. They still came back with an increase, still with some nonprofits that were not on there the previous years. Some of them didn't, comply, and there was also, I believe, several ethical issues going on with those nonprofits and the determination on that. So the county commissioner said, no, we're not, y'all came to us twice, so we're not funding nonprofits this year. So.
All right, fair enough. I understand that. So going forward, Kate Reichard spoke very passionately about this issue at the last commissioners meeting during the public hearing or comments area period. If you get to vet these nonprofits and the committee does their due diligence to make sure everybody's got their appropriate paperwork and in good standing, would your minds change as far as that's concerned?
Yes, we're actually re-looking at a way to handle nonprofits from here on out. Whether it be a new process, a new way to organize a committee, or even, the allocations that we provide and the applying process. I mean, that's something that we're actively looking at right now. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Really, I do. And I totally understand it. And, in hindsight, I tend to agree with your decision. It's tough when those that are doing the right thing are hurt in the process.
100% agree.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So let's talk about the legislative priorities. So I want you to explain to us the Jetport. Why did the Jetport come before school funding?
Ironically, the last town hall that I went to was not when I was a county commissioner. It was back when I was on the planning committee for the school board. It was over at Highland Middle School, right? Middle school. And that's when I first heard mention of the Jetport. Okay. I first heard of the Jetport and I'm in there. I'm like, we need more schools. We need more class seats. The new school that you guys built down here at Benhaven didn't give me any additional class seats. You bought a new school, but it's not an additional school. Tons of issues like, why are you concerned about working on a terminal? Why are you concerned about working on the airport? Trust me, I was right there also.
Well,
I stood up and said, you know what? I have 5 kids. I need new school. I don't have a jet. I don't care about the airport. But let me tell you one thing, though. The one thing that we keep complaining about is the property taxes, okay? And I'll just give one example. And, I can elaborate on other ways also. But just this one example is what really strikes it for me. Each home, residential home, brings in about $1,000 per year. That's not enough to fund, let alone sending 1.5 kids to school. Okay, and most homes here have more than 1.5 kids, so the resources that it takes also that $1,000 has to get stretched out over is a lot. Now, to house one commercial aircraft in a hangar it brings in enough property tax revenue equivalent to 150 residential homes. Okay, so if we bring in 10 aircraft, right, and we're hoping to bring in more than that, but bring in 10, especially with military contracts and different things, expanding the airport, making it more desirable, especially with the expansion that we see. We're also going to be housing economic development in there, but one aircraft is equivalent to 150 homes. So you bring in 10, that's 1,500 home community. But they have no resources that we have to provide for them. Okay? We don't have to send the airplanes kids to school. We don't have to, send a sheriff, or anything medical. No, it's 1,500 homes resources just coming off the housing aircraft.
Did anybody have any other questions regarding the Jetport before we move on? I mean, I think I understand it. I guess.
It's a business decision. That's why we took on the airport as the county. It is a business decision. Now, instead of humans being, down here on a tax farm, and that's all that we're here for, we're going to try and bring businesses, jobs here, bringing in the growth, bringing in the business, and also, not using the human just for property taxes and for the resources.
So basically housing the airplanes and...
Just housing the airplanes brings that in, let alone bringing in other corporations that fly in, either from Raleigh or not, whatnot, starting up industrial parks for them to come down, house a business here, and have a main hub. I mean, it's a much larger plan that it plays into.
Now, I think Becky wants to ask a question, and I think I know what it is, but I'm going to let her ask.
Well, considering that the Jetport is not located near a major interstate, and Lee County has one that's a stone's throw from US 1 and the Triangle, how have the analytics been studied to see if that's even really an option for these big businesses to put their planes there when there's other competing airports in different counties?
Well, we can see that just off of fuel sale history as well on the people who have stopped here. So once you increase, say, runway length and expand it a little bit, you can house in larger aircraft that take more fuel. The fuel actually brings in a lot of money also. But people stopping here, and that's why we want their businesses to come here and stop their planes so they're not leaving to go to Raleigh, not flying in just, using us for our cheaper gas or even our storage, but we want their business to be housed here. So.
Okay. So is there a report somewhere or some document somewhere that we can look at? And
as far as
any studies done, anything that you can provide us to document or back up everything you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I can get with the new engineers of record and stuff that we have. I mean, just based off of their studies and what other airports have brought in the past.
We'd love to see that. Not that we don't believe you, but just something to refer people to.
But as much income as other airports around here generate as well. I mean, we can get that information and I can get that to you.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was a hard pill for us to swallow. Mm-hmm. And
it was for me.
Yeah. So you understand. Okay, so here's one that I have to ask. So the property that actually was owned by the family of Susan Van Cannon that had been sold a couple times over to Harnett Central Holdings, that is off Harnett Central Road and 401. So that property had been was zoned farming R30 or R40. And in 2019, the prior board heard the rezoning petition that came in to rezone that to R20. And after listening and seeing all the documentation and looking to see if there would be an impact on the community, detrimental to the community, they determined that it would be. There wasn't enough schools. There wasn't enough. The fire station was also an issue, and they turned it down. But here comes 2020? January 2020, February. I want to give the dates. Anyway, 2 years later, and Commissioner Weatherspoon was on that. We all know that he is a family member to Montague, who owned Harnett Central. And one of the first rezoning hearings that came up was that one. And Susan Van Cannon spoke passionately as a retired school teacher why it would be detrimental to rezone from R40 to R20, the impact on the schools, on the area. And she did not even finish leaving the podium when he said, well, we're ready to vote. And it was approved. You could tell, you could see Mr. Montague on the right corner of the screen giving the thumbs up. Why did you vote yes?
Honestly, I'd have to go back and look at that particular property. I mean, that's not something that it's popping to the forefront of my mind right now. I can't recall that at the moment. Was it unanimously voted on in approval?
No.
No. Yeah, see, I would have to go back and look at that.
It was 3-2.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's something I would definitely have to go back and look at.
So talking about rezoning, we've talked about the water capacity situation and the change to the UDO in regards to, and it's all a little blurry and confusing to me, which I tried to understand. And I think we did, someone actually did, we have an article on our website, which is harnettunited.org. And there's information there about water capacity and what it all means. So basically, water, for those that don't know, water capacity in our situation has more to do with the water leaving the properties than it is coming in. We have a lot of water off the Cape Fear. The problem is how it's processed and cleaned going back to the plant and eventually into the river. And the Department of Environmental Quality has a say on how much capacity we can be given for, housing developed or at one time. And we actually have to build another treatment plant to be able to catch up to the demand. So because they had a vote, I think it was a special public hearing during a work session that you guys had, I think in October, if I'm not mistaken. And I know Kate here had actually wrote the article about it. So the vote was at the time to allow local developers a little bit of an upper hand over the larger national developers on how many homes can be permitted, and paid into escrow, for water capacity. And the vote was to go from 100 to 200. Why did you vote no?
I do recall that. I'm not a big fan of developers, period. So granted, I'm in real estate. I don't, I'm right in along lines where you are also, where things need to be planned out a little bit better, where, we can't go and offer so much to certain people so they can come in and just buy it all out. Okay. Too much growth and then the capacity getting, overcrowded by permitting things way far out and only certain groups being able to get that allocation. I kind of wanted it to be more of a process, I would say, for the developer to have to go through in that sense. Instead of just being able to be allocated 200 and some lots or 300 and they go, also for a developer standpoint also, because, say that he buys that just to sell those lots off, you can go and have, multiple builders in there, but the developments, are going to be limited to that capacity. So there's a couple factors on why I voted no on that.
All right, so, it's just you and Lou that voted no.
I don't think that has anything to do. It just happened to be happenstance. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So you did something a couple meetings ago that just made us so giddy and happy.
Oh, is this turning, or are you going to hit me with like something negative real fast?
No. At the end of the meeting, you had, there's several of us. We try to, at least 2 or 3 of us, go to every meeting. We want to talk about issues that are important to us and be present. We want you all to know that we're present, we're paying attention. And one of the things that you said, that you wanted the board to have an opportunity at the end of each meeting to kind of address things that were brought up that don't necessarily, you can't answer. And we feel like many times we don't get an answer. We then maybe 2, 3 meetings down the road see a vote and we're like, oh my God, they totally ignored us. So whatever came from that.
My county manager is actually currently trying to work that into the agenda, figure out a good way to get that in there. And also, I mean, you realize there does have to be some sort of limitations. Like, I mean, if we're going to include it, it can't be, open and whatnot. Too much time permitting getting off task during the meetings that are scheduled. We got to fit that into the agenda. But my county manager is on that right now.
So let's talk about something else that is very passionate to you, and I know it's schools and the overcrowding issue and how to fix it. So before I let you have the mic, I find that the municipalities and the towns, when, because of the water capacity limitations that the county has now, we are observing that a lot of the developers are going to the towns and asking for, petition for annexation and then rezoning to R10 or R20. And we feel that they are not doing their due diligence. It seems like decisions are being made in silos and not talking to each other with the school board. I mean, they're compounding really the problem of overcrowding and not throttling a bit to try to let you guys catch up with the school overcrowding situation, the Jetport, economic development, and all that takes time. And our kids are paying the price for it. Like you have 5 kids. I've raised my children, but I have a granddaughter that will be going to Shawtown in the future. And it is a very big concern. And I'm doing it also, all the fighting we're doing for the kids, for our grandkids. And I've emailed the town about this. Also, I feel like they're not as transparent as Harnett County is. I will say, Harnett County's GIS system is the bomb.
It is amazing.
It is amazing. If there is a document missing, it's not intentional. It's because they haven't updated their database or something's wrong. All I have to do is send a message and boom, it's there.
Yeah, we have a phenomenal team.
Amazing. But Lillington is not like that. There's no board meeting announcements on the website or, minutes, agendas. There's nothing. We actually own property in Lillington, and there's housing development. There's more construction going on in a phase 3 behind us. And I had to actually email, the planning director to get that document. I shouldn't have to do that. So I feel that, the rezoning hearings, the only way for us to find out is check the paper every day. So we keep posting about it and create events for it for people to show up. But, it is not very forthcoming. And I feel like there needs to be more communications between the county and the towns and the municipalities, especially with this school overcrowding issue. So now I want to give the mic to you, and you and I spoke about what you envisioned as a way, as a Band-Aid for the school issue, but then you had another problem that needed resolved first.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about now, and this is actually something that was started right at the very beginning of COVID. It was the 28th school here in Harnett County. Back on the planning committee with the school board, I mean, ORID comes in and gives you projections on capacity with your school projected out over, 10, 20 years. And we were already at capacity. I mean, we're at capacity in our elementary schools, middle, and, high's getting there as well. That's something why we're trying to push for more, a high school to be built, especially down our way on the western side right now. We were promised one, never got one. However, the 28th school is the Harnett County Virtual Academy. And what that does, and before COVID came out, and luckily COVID funding was able to pay for this, and this was kind of the plan, was to create an online school, a virtual school, to where students, especially, high schoolers, who are about ready to either get in online colleges or those that are in distance learning. And some children actually perform better doing online courses. The plan was to start that so people can enroll in that, and that would help out with also less school sick days. Some children have, medical needs. Some parents in the military, PCSing, being able to continue that school for the following year, for them to be able to enroll in this virtual academy. And right off the bat, it was projected to save about 8 to 15% of class seats. Okay, and it was going to be, there are outlines on it now, but the original stuff was going to be about, had to maintain like a C average and have, a teacher recommend for the program or have a parent that wishing, to apply. And then that came up with the problem. All right, well, that's not accessible to every student because of internet access. And this was also another culmination off of the increase that we've had with the homeschool population as well. This would also give, people who are interested in homeschooling or the alternative option.
Or hybrid, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly, to where they'll be able to have resources also, but it'll be cheaper and it's not a kid in a class seat. Which most kids need to be in a class seat. My children, they need to be physically in the class seat in order to learn. So problem was internet availability or accessibility in order to actually be a part of this. It excluded many children. So that's why one of the number one goals is, and especially a legislative priority, is broadband.
Yep.
Do broadband access, and my dream was actually, as soon as you hit Harnett County, countywide Wi-Fi. I want countywide Wi-Fi. We're in the tech era. Why don't we start, jumping in on this? And then COVID hit. And then we started seeing more of a need for that with, remote working, people working from home, remote learning with the kids. We saw the hit there when, the kids that couldn't have access when they had to have it. So it really streamlined and pushed, things further a lot faster. And I'm glad that we got to jump ahead of it, and we're able to use a lot of funding that's being piped down right now.
What is it planned for broadband?
We have an agreement with Cloudwise, and the first phase is actually going in.
Is it fiber or satellite?
It's going to be a mixture. They're going to be doing fiber and then remote locations as well.
Okay.
For wireless. Yep. And you guys look it up, the Cloudwise. I mean, it's been mentioned in a lot of the meetings.
Yeah, I've heard it.
All as well. So it's going to be a great addition to Harnett County.
So you talked about the legislative priorities and the CIP, the new strategic plan. Well, three things: the legislative priorities, the CIP, and the new strategic plan, which was approved prior to the CIP and legislative priorities, right? So schools were number 3 on the list of legislative priorities. But first, in the strategic plan, is it because the shoe came before the foot?
No, legislative priorities is what we're asking them, for the funding and the money for, So it is our first thing to do is to build schools. But our first thing to ask for money in order to help facilitate and start bringing in more income in order to create an engine to get more money to build more schools down the road.
Well, your explanation of the Jetport sort of answered that one.
So that was the reasoning behind that. You know, our legislative priorities, and we got a lot of funding right now, and it's, you know, going towards that. We're so blessed as a county to receive all the monies that we are getting. So,
well, you know, hearing you explain this just
answers the why a little bit.
Absolutely, because, you know, as a resident and part of the community, non-political, we see that list of priorities. You heard me speak passionately about it. Yeah. Not understanding. I understand it now. And I guess it's hard listening and, you know, looking at the agenda, and now I'm understanding what a consent agenda is, which is already approved. It's just giving it the last blessing. I just didn't understand why the hearing came after the consent agenda. You know,
it's a lot to learn, a lot to pick up.
Yes.
I'm still learning.
And I want you to set me straight if we don't understand something, by all means, really. All right, so being the strategic plan, you know, I know that is a guide. It is not something, you know, a statute. Any possible amendments to the CIP based on the strategic plan you now have? Are you all happy with?
I'm sure there will be some tweaking. I mean, there's different things that we're going to rank inside of those different categories.
Based on the strategic plan?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the main reason for that was the county was operating pretty much day to day prior to that. And once, you know, this new board got together, we're sitting here, it's like, okay, what are the goals? Like, what are you guys like shooting for? What is the county doing? What are all the employees? What is the main goal that we're trying to get to? And there really wasn't one. It was just day to day operations and, you know, keeping it going, and it wasn't really forecasting it out there. Everybody's kicking and screaming, you know, but there wasn't a plan that as a unit everybody was working towards.
So the 2015 strategic plan was not referred to at all? The one you guys had before?
No, I mean, that's
obsolete.
6 years, 7 years later. Yeah, it's pretty much the whole county has changed within the last 7 years as well. So, but for us to all work towards the same goal, have legs in order to get there. And I mean, obviously, you're going to start tweaking your goals over time as well, you know, just a little bit. I hope the next board that comes through follows through.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. It'll be up to obviously the next board that comes through in order to pick up the torch and keep running with it.
And I think it's a good time to actually say, you know, we've had a lot of candidates come to us, and we are definitely researching. We're looking at what platforms, you know, what their campaign promises are. And, you know, we're asking questions, and we welcome all of them to have a town hall with us. We want to be a voice of influence, good or bad. We want to be something positive, our group, something positive in our county, and strive to have, you know, better schools, policing, fire, just not have, we don't want to become Fuquay. I mean, Fuquay's bad. And all these farmers, bless their hearts, selling their properties for, you know, whatever reason they may have. Some, their kids don't want to. I've also heard that if they do pass on the property to their children, they can't afford to buy or pay the taxes on it, so they end up selling. I mean, there is a gamut of reasons.
There is. I mean, you also see it with the whole generational shift that we go through, and also population increases. They're not making any more land. People can't stop having babies. You got to put them somewhere, and a culmination of things. You know, what used to be farmland and a family farm for generations, you know, it isn't appealing anymore. You know?
Is it on your radar or anybody's radar as far as the Board of Commissioners or the county to try to salvage some of this farmland?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's our main goal is what we're trying to do. The strategic plan, you know, we're trying to work different areas also. Like set up an industrial zone, set up, some commercial areas, expand on what we have already. And it was a lot of missing pieces too with not having the economic development director that we had. Being able to sit and look and preserve. That's why we came up with kind of what exactly is Harnett County? What do we want? Why do people come here? What are we trying to, preserve and maintain that? And that's strategic plan is going to help us outline exactly that. And it's going to make us pick out certain spots and help us plan geographically as well. So, did
you see that viral video that was posted? I actually posted in the group of the open house that they had for a reasonably priced home in Harnett.
In Raleigh?
In Raleigh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we know why they're coming down here.
Well, that's going on. Hey, it's going on everywhere. I mean, in my community, I own a real estate firm, and as soon as you get a home in, I mean, it's gone, and it's multiple offers, and it's over, and you see this everywhere, and of course they want to migrate down here. It's a 45-minute drive to Raleigh instead of sitting 45 minutes on the Beltline. You got a little bit lower taxes, a little bit more house for your money.
Well, thank you. I'm going to open the floor up for questions.
My name is Kathy Brown. I have emailed you about animal control, and what do you have to say
about animal control?
Yes.
The laws, the facilities, what?
I emailed you about the bill being dilapidated.
Mm-hmm.
The animals, the volunteers that are being counted on, pretty much relied on. There's one, they're saying that the monies aren't there for it. Well, don't y'all make the budget?
Yes, that's correct. And we're coming into the budget year, coming back up now, and there's a lot of, we're coming into the budget year now, and that's something that we're going to be addressing. Also, you have to understand with the water treatment center expanding, where the location is now, it's going to encroach on that. So that facility will move, and that's going to be moving up in our CIP. We stated that in our last meeting, the need for that. My county manager is going out actually this week. He has a walkthrough out there, and he's going to come back and give us a brief on exactly what needs to be done, how fast we can get something done. But we do hear the need. We see the need. I've talked to several people that were employees at the animal shelter, seeing some of the leadership, the way that they were treated there and why they left, lack of funding, lack of resources. So, yes, I am tracking, and we are working on that. So.
Anybody else? Yes.
Just as a follow-up to her question, I'm a regular volunteer at the animal shelter. You've heard me come to the board meetings many times asking for additional funding for staffing. I'm just curious if there's been any movement on the creation of the committee for the animal shelter situation.
It has. We have not discussed that yet after you brought that up. So, but it is something that's going to be tackled. I have bi-monthly meetings with the county manager now, and I can't emphasize enough how blessed we are to have the new county manager we have and the new economic development director.
You're pretty happy with them?
I am extremely happy. Great spearheaded individuals that are taking this county exactly where we need it to go and doing what we hired them to do. So very fortunate, but that is something that we're working on as fast as we possibly can, because we got to figure out where to go. It was brought up the other day that they wanted to move it down there on the old Ben Hayden School, and I was like, no.
I heard that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, we do need one. I'd be happy to house an animal shelter in the western side. It's not centrally located. I know that 90% of the animals do come from our area, though. So finding the spot for it is what we're working on now. There's a lot of land that the county does have that we're looking at. So it's moving. I always say the wheels of government turn slowly, especially when they're fueled by excuses, but they're not excuses. I'm working on it.
Will you be able to address the funding for salaries and budget overall before you have a building? Because that's probably going to take a while.
Yeah, of course. I'm seeing already there's going to have to be some sort of reorg down there anyway. So another position or two possibly. So it's structuring, it's reorging, and figuring exactly where to go.
What about the animal ordinances? One of the things that, especially with so many people moving into the area, our animal laws are pretty archaic. And, you know, I've had to call animal control on my neighbor's dog that were out 24/7, doesn't matter what time, as long as they have a little house, a little water, a little food, and a little shelter with some straw, nothing can be done about it. So then you have animals that are tethered outside, you know, and this is okay. This is just archaic. What can we do to update animal ordinances to be more in line with other counties?
That's going to take obviously either a group, a committee, or, you know, getting together with staff to try and figure out how exactly, or compile a list of what the other ordinances are and what we are going to apply here. So
are you committing to helping us do that?
God, y'all got to put me on the spot. I am for animals, not for their suffering. Okay, and I agree. I personally can't tell you exactly where the leash laws are. I couldn't read those to you. I'm sure you've looked into them and stuff. Okay, that's not something that I know right off the top of my head. Not trying to be insensitive, but we talked about a lot of other things that are going on right now in the county. You know, hey, as soon as I got some schools coming in, as soon as I can get some, you know, funding for other departments and stuff too. I mean, we're pushing, trying to spread the pie out across everybody. Okay, not trying to be insensitive, not trying to blow it off, but there is a lot more priorities, and I'm currently.
Oh, I understand. We just want to be able to form some sort of committee, advisory committee, to help refresh and update the animal laws.
Would I be willing to look at that and see exactly where we are and participate in revising them if need be? Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would add not just that ordinances that we look at, is the livestock. So that includes equines and bovines. So your goats, cattle.
Okay. Well, that's something I'm sure I can get the cooperative extension to help me out with as well. So. Yeah. Are you familiar with the cooperative extension that we have here in the county? They're phenomenal also. So, yeah.
Anybody else?
Does the school board or the county commissioners decide where a school is going to be built?
We get a request from the school board, and then we decide if that is going to be feasible or not. So, I mean, we are the ones that provide funding for the school board, but they come to us with their needs.
I know that. I know I fought hard for our school in Arlington, which is getting ready to open, which is beautiful. When I go to the school board, I hear one thing. I go to the county commissioners, I hear something. I go back and I think, somebody's not being truthful.
The good thing is, now has that been recently? Yeah. It has been? Last 2 years? Within the last 2 years?
Well, before they built our school.
Okay. Because I will say now that the commissioners, all the commissioners on the board now are proactive with schools. They are more engaged than when I was on the planning committee for the school board, what the prior boards had been doing with getting involved. I mean, we are actually going out there and looking for these spots. And if something comes available or an opportunity, that's something that we would pass down and pursue to them as an option, you know.
Anyway, why would you or they pick a spot in Northwest Harnett right on the Wake County line to build a school?
Are you talking about the elementary school?
The one that's being built now.
Behind Serenity?
Children are going to come over from Wake County and take spots the Harnett County children need. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it would matter what school district they're in, I would assume. So if they're not on this side and they're not in the district, then they wouldn't be going to that school. Yeah, and then I mean with
crossing county lines.
With that though, what the schools actually, from my understanding, and I'm not on the school board or on the board of education, so I'm not going to talk to it, but from my understanding, there's an ADN, an average daily number, okay, on what each school has, and that's their reporting. Am I right or wrong?
Right now, it's about 21,000.
So if a student would transfer to another district, then they would have to sign off on basically that funding allotment for that student. Okay, so Wake County would have to sign off on the funding for that student seat. So that it wouldn't be, it would be taking away from other other class seats if there was an overcrowding issue. But I mean, we can cross that bridge when we get to it.
But that's like our school. They were talking about building for X amount of students on a local level, and the commissioner said, no, we're going to build it this size because Irwin is not growing. We are growing 100. I guarantee you.
Oh, I remember when that came through, and I'm like, what? They added maybe 120 class seats, if that. I mean, you're going to build an entire school and not have an addition. It's a lot of poor planning. Then you got a former school board member here.
The thing that I was always told was that, we want our schools to be community-based. Because I asked that question. I'm from New York, and I had more kids in my high school grade than I do in some of these schools here. And that's one of the questions I was asking.
And also, to caveat back to that that was my question. It's like, why don't you build the school bigger if you know that you need it bigger? Why don't you? The excuse is, or the reasoning is, well, then we have to hire more staff. We have to have another principal. It's like, okay, well then that's more jobs. Like that's more, I mean, I understand that costs more money. However, I think it's easier to build, easier to hire more teachers than it is to build a new school. Okay. Oh, no, their answer for that is to go ahead and throw more huts and stuff at it. So, yeah. Yeah. So we just got to get better at planning. I mean, with the growth, planning for that larger class seats and, larger capacity in these schools. I mean, we see that it's happening. You go to North Raleigh, you go to Wake County. I mean, they have
a
couple
kids.
thousand kids in their schools,
kids.
And you may have a principal and 2 assistant principals. However, you have schools and class seats.
So I hear Angie's got a question.
Is there going to be another fire station being built on 210? There's supposed to be, they have property on 210 for a fire station, but
I'd have to look into that.
It's right by the new development for Rome. It's just, nothing, and they have a property. Right.
So many houses are going up in that area. Yeah.
I mean, all these subdivisions, and I don't know. I mean, when the bridge be up, what's going to happen?
I'll get your contact info and I'll find that information out and get back to you.
So I have a question regarding the school board, and intriguing minds want to know, and maybe somebody's got the answer. How is Commissioner Matthews allowed to serve on the board and the Board of Commissioners, on the school board and Board of Commissioners?
He's not on the school board.
I thought he was.
He's deputy superintendent.
What?
It's not, because we were told when he was running, he said, if I win, I will step down from the Board of Education.
He's not on the Board of Education.
But he's superintendent.
He's a deputy superintendent. He's an employee of the school district.
Okay.
He's an employee of the school district. So
Got it.
This is the type of thing, though, is that you say something.
No, we are asking questions. We're not saying, we are asking.
Okay. So Brooks Matthews is an employee of the school district. He is the deputy superintendent.
Okay.
He's not the superintendent. He's the deputy superintendent, and he's in charge of certain areas in the school district. He ran, like every American can, for county commissioner, and he won.
I totally appreciate the answer, which is why we asked the question. We're not making assumptions. We're just asking. And I appreciate that answer.
He just speaks very direct. Don't mind that.
I'm from New York.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm from Panama originally, so yeah.
Yep.
Yes. We're asking the question because it's been brought up.
He's not sitting on two. He's employed now.
And I appreciate your answer. This is something that's been brought up. It's not something that we are miscommunicating people, and you know, we're just asking, and I appreciate the answer.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Commissioner, can he vote on his own raise?
No,
Why not? He works for the governor.
he's a deputy superintendent. He doesn't have that authority. He's not.
Commissioner, he does.
Does he have the ability to raise? I mean, Matt has the ability to. I think that's how it works. As a commissioner, they have the power.
You guys voted on the raise for the sheriff.
Correct.
Would you vote on the raise for superintendent of this county and the school system and
Yes.
deputy superintendent?
Yes.
Would he recuse himself?
No, the county commissioners have nothing to do with the contract for the superintendent. The contract with the superintendent is done by the school board. And, you know, it's a very, very, very in-depth process of negotiation back and forth, and there were some bigwig lawyers involved and stuff like that. And that's how
We provide the funding and would have to, obviously bless off on the budget for that.
I appreciate that answer.
That wouldn't be, something that I would say that we would vote on his raise, so.
Any other questions?
And I would say that would be a conflict of interest and ethically
Yes,
where
I was gonna say it
he
would
would recuse himself, period. No, that's.
And you made it clear, no.
Yeah, he's an employee of the school, so,
Just like if you were a teacher and you were a commissioner, right? That's what you're saying.
No. What does he vote on the money in the schools? Or is he's replacing?
No, he votes on the money that's going to the schools.
So
But
there could be a little bit of a conflict of
Yeah.
interest.
He's not out here trying to get personal pleasure, profit, and gain off of his position in the school board and voting on that, as being a county commissioner. This is not something that he's out there for. He's a genuine man, from my knowledge that I know of him personally, who stepped up in order to help out the community. He has been a principal, for this county, multiple times, and he's a great man in my opinion. So I
appreciate it.
I don't think that he would recuse himself if it was something that he even felt he needed to keep an arm's reach.
And I
would trust him to do that
trust you
wholeheartedly.
saying that, and
So.
I believe you are correct. And I appreciate this.
I
This
would
has been good.
on that, so that's it.
Yeah. Yes.
As a commissioner of Harnett County, are you required to go through any kind of ethics training?
Yes, we do have an ethics class that we have to take.
So when you get elected, you're required to take it. I'm a realtor, you're a realtor, we go through our ethics
Oh,
training
yeah.
every other year.
Yeah.
So that is a requirement.
Yes.
Is it as extensive as maybe even the realtor one is? Or is
I would
how
say
do
it's.
you feel about it?
I would say it's comparable. It's ethics training. So, yeah.
And the second question, since Harnett County is your last stand, do you plan to stay in government, or do you plan to go further up the ladder, or stay in local government?
I love
What
where
are your plans as of right now?
I love where I'm at currently, and I'm doing what I can during my tenure. Okay, so right now I've got 2 years and 9 months left, and I'm doing about 2.5 days worth of work each day just to bring us current. So I can't tell you what the future brings. I can tell you that I don't have aspirations to go any higher. I'm not a politician. If a lot, no, but not for me. I didn't want to do this. I hate to say it. I really didn't. I felt it was my community and moral obligation in order to run. I love the hand that I have in now, being involved where I'm at the level that I'm at, having just a wide variety of things. I love all the departments that I could be involved in. Learning a lot, with that. I was right there where you guys were with the same questions, not understanding the inner workings or how something happens, the why. Figuring that out. I mean, we really do have a great county. We are blessed, despite of little odds and ends here and there's little qualms and stuff that we have. We are truly blessed for the county that we have. And I will say we have great leadership. I do have faith in the leadership that we have. And I believe that everybody that runs for this position, I would hope that you're not doing it for any sort of gain, because there really isn't a whole lot, especially at this level. You need more people. I really want to get away from the party of things, we were talking about that earlier, about how people used to go to work, and talk about sports or different things, but now it's an everyday conversation. No matter where you go, is politics, okay? My grandparents and parents would go vote. They wouldn't even tell each other who they voted for. Okay, that was between them and the polling booth. Now you come out, and it seems like everybody has to talk about that, and that is the main topic of conversation. I really hope at the county level, state level, country level, we get back to not being party-oriented, not being politically oriented, but just being we the people for once, okay? It's been a long, long time. So y'all doing what you're doing, other people that get involved, I mean, it's we the people, all right? There shouldn't be any qualms or bickering. Nobody is getting off this planet alive. So we're all neighbors. Just continue to look out to your left and right. So, but no, I have no aspirations to go any higher, and you got about 2 years and 9 months left for me.
Anybody else? Well, thank you so much for allowing us to grill you. I think we've pretty much covered, we covered a lot. I think we were able to come up with some answers that clears up a lot of things. We want to support the work you guys do. We just needed to understand. And this town hall has really helped us understand. And like I told you earlier, anytime that you're in our group, you see a post that is a little confusing or the facts are not exactly like it is, just let me know. And, one of the things that we strive to do, and we're trying to build up our website, and it's harnettunited.org. And it's the spinoff of the asphalt plant, but, all the other issues that, we saw. But we also want to highlight the good. We strive to be fact-based, and we always try to put any links that are, corroborate the information we're posting. A lot of times we can't do that because it's how we understand things. And we're normal people. We're not politicians. We're not lawyers. Sometimes we read things and not exactly interpret it, the way we think they should be. And, we stand to be corrected, and we welcome it. We want to put the right information out there. So.
Well, one thing that I will ask is, we're obviously all out for the same common goal, okay, the betterment of this county, okay, the betterment of working with each other and making this a better place. Now, please be more positive with things. I'm not saying that you aren't, but with your posts or with things that are put out in public, let's keep it positive so we can promote this county, so people don't look at Harnett County as like, oh, what are the issues going on down there? Like, how can, I'd hate for it to be, just over something that's a qualm, not life or death situation. It's just something that may be some may be misconstrued over, but we're pushing away businesses that we're actually trying to attract.
Fair enough.
Okay, like we are blessed here in Harnett County, and there's nothing wrong with taking pride in that. Okay, but we got to preserve that, and we need to boost us because we all grow together. Okay.
Understood, and we appreciate that. Yes. Did you have a question?
I think it was to do with you were saying we want people to be able to move here, and we want to keep it positive. But the reality of it is we have issues, and when we brought them to the board, we don't ever get any feedback from it. You mentioned not too long ago about having a session
so that you guys could talk back to us.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have a sheriff's department that is making the headlines, is known for issues that are totally inappropriate, no matter what party you're with, and that we won't require our sheriff's department to wear body cameras. So who wants to move here when they hear things like that?
I will say we all have to do our own part. Okay, Matt Nicol can control Matt Nicol and his family. You know, everyone else can control, you know, their own family and what we can all do here. We all need to do our part. Okay, the sheriff, I mean, that's not something that I can force him to do. Anybody that's heard me talk has heard about how I want body cameras. Okay.
Was it funded? There was money for body cameras?
Body cameras have not been funded. We funded in-car cameras that are being installed, if not already installed now. So now body cameras, I understand it's not the same. Now I can't force the sheriff in order to have body cameras. That's not.
I read in your budget recently, and there were descriptions down about sort of justifications. I don't remember if this was on the capital improvement plan or if this was a different budget. But the very description that was used to justify cameras in the patrol cars is the exact description that could be used to justify wearing body cameras. So somewhere along the line, the board does play a role in this because you guys put that budget together.
No. That he would fund in-car cameras, and it was actually in lieu of giving raises to the deputies in the department. We did that. We held him to getting in-car cameras, and it was paid for out of asset forfeiture funds. Okay, that's something that we had to sign off on approving, letting him go ahead and do that. Where it was more along the lines of he requested that and he got it, but it was correct. Correct. So, I mean, that's not something that, you know, we went out and just funded. Along the lines of body cameras, I am a huge advocate for body cameras. But what are the reasons why we need body cameras? It's a trust issue, is it not? Now, once again, I talk about when I was a kid, you know, police officers would drive by and kids would run out and wave to them. They would aspire to be police officers. You ask a kid, hey, what do you want to be? I want to be a police officer when I grow up. The climate environment that we live in nowadays, and honestly, I think it's been, you know, whether media, a lot of things do happen. If you're right, you're wrong, you're wrong. A camera's not going to stop you from being a piece of trash, okay? You know, it's not going to stop the individual from acting a certain way, no matter what side of that camera that they're on, okay? What we really need to work on is getting back to the community aspect of it, to where police are revered as, you know, there to protect and serve, to where children are going back out and being like, hey, I aspire to be that. Instead of when a cop drives by now, they run away, they think, hey, what did I do now, or whatnot. We all play a part in that. And once again, it's up to all of us in order to change that. I hate it when I go out to a restaurant down the street and I have, you know, someone sitting there, a family sitting there with their child, and the child's refusing to eat, and the mother's like, hey, you see that policeman over there? If you don't eat your broccoli, I'm going to have him come arrest you. I mean, that's ingraining that at a young age in these children's minds. And I mean, it's even something as small as that we can change. You know, the perception of law enforcement. Do you have some bad apples? Yes. You have a lot of good ones that are here to protect and serve. Whoever straps on a vest and a gun and walks out here every day in order to protect and serve has got more, you know, courage than I do, okay? And in the climate environment we live in nowadays, I think we should be doing more in order to help them with their job, okay, instead of giving them such a hard job, okay? Now, they're there to protect and serve us, okay? Community service, you know, customer service. There are certain things that can be changed on their side also, is what I'm getting at. You know, but we need to be able to encourage that and promote that, because could you imagine a county without law enforcement? You know, saying, you know, like, what can you do with the sheriff with the budget? Well, cut his funding. I hear that a lot. Cut the sheriff's budget until, you know, he does what you want. You know what that does? That hurts the department. That doesn't hurt that one man. That's not going to make him change his decision. That hurts our department. That hurts every citizen around here. So, yes, sir. Here, we got more questions.
I want to pick up on what you were saying about keeping things positive. It seems to have gone into a negative space over here. On that same topic of chair, I think a great person to answer that question is our candidate for chair, Mr. Reggie Watson. He might be able to shed some more light on what the positive ways you can deal with the chair. It can give you 10 seconds since we're all talking about it.
I didn't know this was a campaign event. He was sitting here, but I mean, I'm fine with him afterwards, but I mean, if not, I have to let everybody that's in here.
There's three candidates here.
4 candidates. 4.
Oh, okay, sure. Where is he? Mr. Sure, if you want to
I don't
address
mean to be
that.
rude or disrespectful. It's like this isn't a campaign event. Okay. No worries. Do you have anything to add though, as far as what you've heard?
The body cameras, I'm an advocate of body cameras, and it reduces by 59% of law enforcement. I would say, well, it reduces them from taking the wrong action by 59%. If you got a car camera, if I'm not standing in front of that camera, I'm not going to see what I'm doing over here. If you got a body camera, I'm going to get the gist of what's going on.
Hey, I'm all for body cameras. So I mean, I've already said that before. It's just a matter of it's a matter of getting them implemented and get them out on the streets. Okay. So, and that's not something that Matt Nicol, County Commissioner, can make happen. So, as much as he wants it himself.
So we thank you for coming, and we welcome you. And anytime you want to have a town hall, we're welcome to have you as a guest, for sure. Yes.
Jeff thinks we need a SWAT team. I'm not saying that we need a SWAT team. We may need a SWAT team. The problem I have is that you have problems already being brought up of the misuse of the offices he does have and the jail system. And you want to give them now a SWAT team to have more power over the administration. I'm afraid
I don't want to turn this event right now into something that is talking about, you know, another individual that I don't have control over, you know, in that sense. That's not something that the sheriff runs his department how he sees fit. Okay. I'm sorry. So.
Well, this has been super, super informative. I thank you for being in that hot seat. I hope we didn't give you too many, you know.
It wasn't too bad.
Well, good. I told you it wouldn't be. And any of your fellow commissioners that want to take the seat, they're welcome to come as well. We promise to treat them with respect. And just like we had you, we have questions, them answer them. And, you know, people want to hear from them.
Good deal.
So,
well,
if there are any questions on the Facebook Live that we didn't address? Okay. Well, thank you for everyone for coming. We have a very large group here. Thank you so much for coming.